Hello everyone! Today we are going to explain what ethnographic research is. To begin, we will give a brief definition of what it is. Ethnographic research is a qualitative method where researchers observe and or interact with the study's participants in the real-life environment. Ethnographic research has its roots in ethnography, which is the in-depth study of people, cultures, habits, and mutual differences. It is a flexible research method that allows you to gain a deep understanding of a group's shared culture, conventions, and social dynamics. So, when to use ethnographic research? Ethnography is most useful in the early stages of a user-centered design project. This is because ethnography focuses on developing an understanding of the design problem. Therefore, it makes more sense to conduct ethnographic studies at the beginning of a project in order to support future design decisions. Now, let's move on to key elements. Ethnographic research has an interest in culture and cultural meanings with an emphasis on the image or the insider view. It also focuses on interpretation, understanding, and representation, and ethnographies are also based on fieldwork among the people whose culture is under study. The methodological principles such as naturalism, understanding, and induction draw on different philosophical backgrounds and therefore produce different types of ethnography. Regarding the data collection, it could be from different perspectives and different sources. It means to write field notes that are descriptive and rich in detail, and those who represent participants in their own terms by using quotations and short stories. Finally, it's important to write rich description followed by analysis and interpretation and situate yourself in your writing. Some of the instruments used to carry out ethnographic research are interviews, observations, recordings or videos, and archival research. An example of ethnographic research questions made in America to students in the public schools was how did they understand America and what does it mean to be American? Another example of a question could be what borders and boundaries did they create or detect in social relations, and what languages did they use to articulate and create those borders and boundaries?
Moreover, it is important to say that ethnography has some good and those that are not that pretty good points. So, here we have the advantages and the disadvantages of ethnography. Well, let's start with the best part, the advantages. The main advantage of ethnography is that it gives the researcher direct access to the culture and to the practices of a group. It is a useful approach for learning firsthand about the behavior and the interaction of people within a particular context. Second one, by becoming immersed in a social environment, you need to have access to more authentic information and spontaneously observe dynamics that you couldn't have found out just by asking people at random. And the last one, but not less important, is that ethnography is also an open and flexible method. Rather than aiming to verify a general theory or test a hypothesis, it aims to offer a rich narrative account of a specific culture, allowing you as a researcher to explore many different aspects of the group and settings. Now, the not that pretty face, the disadvantages. Well, ethnography is a time-consuming method. This means that it is a full-time job, and you know what it means. So, in order to embed yourself in the setting and gather enough observation to build up a representative picture, you can expect to spend at least a few weeks, but more likely several months. So you have to be really committed with your job because this long-term immersion can be really challenging and it requires careful planning. The second one is that ethnography research can run the risk of researcher bias. Writing an ethnography involves subjective interpretation, and it can be difficult to maintain the necessary distance to analyze a group that you are embedded in. And finally, while doing an ethnography research, there are often also ethical considerations to be taken into account. For example, about how your role is disclosed to members of the group, or about observing and reporting sensitive information. So you have to be really careful. So there are many important things to be taken into account.
As a next step to cover the topic of ethnographic research, we have the next question. How do we collect data in ethnographic research? There are three different modes of data collection in ethnography: observation, interviewing, and archival research according to Engrosino 2007. First of all, there is observation. Participant observation is unique in that it combines the researcher's participation in the lives of the people under study while also maintaining a professional distance. According to Engrosino, observation is the act of perceiving the activities and interrelationships of people in the field setting. The second one is interviewing. The interviewing is the process of directing a conversation to collect information. And the last one is archival research. This is the analysis of existing materials stored for research, service, or other purposes officially and unofficially. Following that, we got analyzing and interpreting ethnographic data. In ethnographic research, analysis takes place throughout the research project and is tightly connected with interpretation. This means that during the research process, one will continuously analyze, interpret, and learn from the empirical data. In this respect, analysis involves both creative insight and careful attention to the purpose of the study. At some stage of the research process, one stops collecting data and turns attention more fully and systematically to the analysis. Then, the researcher will ask, what do my field data tell me? What have I learned in the field? What interesting and unique things can I say in order to answer my research question? Now we got the following guidelines for conducting ethnographic fieldwork. Collect a variety of information from different perspectives and different sources. Use observation, open interviews, and site documentation, as well as audiovisual materials such as recordings and photographs. Write field notes that are descriptive and rich in detail. Represent participants in their own terms by using quotations and short stories. And finally, capture participants' views of their own experiences in their own words.
Now that you have cleared some main aspects of ethnographic research, how about we take a look into the different types out there? There are several types of ethnographic research, namely business, educational, and medical ethnographic research, all based on different fields of human endeavor, and each type is defined by specific characteristics. Ethnographic research is a multidimensional research design that can be adapted to different fields, including psychology. In this particular case, we're going to submerge ourselves in the nature of educational ethnographic research, which is a research design that involves observing teaching and learning methods and how these affect classroom behaviors. The research model pays attention to pedagogy, its effects on learning outcomes, and overall engagements by stakeholders within the classroom environment. Typically, educational ethnographic research studies students' attitudes, academic motivations, and dispositions to learn. To do this, the researcher combines non-participant observation methods with direct participant observation techniques in order to gather the most relevant and objective data. Education is universal, and there are many approaches of its ethnographic study. Participant observation is integral to many, but not all, ethnographers. Researchers use a range of qualitative methods, including sensory, visual, and creative approaches, to immerse themselves in and make a sense of educational cultures. So far, we have discussed the main characteristics of ethnographic research, focusing on the instruments and guidelines to carry out such methodology, mainly on the how to conduct an ethnographic research, but it comes down a point in which the researcher must choose the appropriate type of research according to the purpose and path to follow of the problem to solve. Depending on the expected outcome, ethnographic research can be the right choice to provide such outcome. That is why it's crucial to understand strong features and possibilities of choosing ethnographic over other types of methodologies or approaches. Here are some main reasons of why ethnographic research may suit your project best. Number 1. Ethnography can be conducted entirely by one individual, whether because you got stuck working on your own or simply prefer to maintain full control and recognition of every aspect of the tasks at hand. Ethnographic research is the right choice, since it requires no expensive or elaborate tools or equipment and can be carried out in any time or place. Working in an individual manner will present no unnecessary cost or burdens over other types of approaches. Number 2. You can provide insightful data. Due to the nature of methods and tools utilized in this approach, ethnographic research can deliver a detailed and rich database for further investigation and writing. Furthermore, since it focuses on interacting with others rather than treating them as subjects, allows you to collect data in a realistic or naturalistic setting in which people act naturally, focusing on both verbal and nonverbal behaviors, allowing you at the same time to integrate your professional and personal life, making the research not only interesting but adventurous. And finally, number 3, it is longitudinal in nature, allowing you as the researcher to observe and record changes over extended periods of time. Instead of gathering data at one specific point in time and space, ethnographic research can register patterns and change in behaviors emerge through the whole study, providing overall a deeper understanding of the data at hand.